All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Frost in Austin, and I am excited about today's video, mostly because it's going to be highly debatable. That's right, I am doing a battle of the big gizzard shad glide baits. So if you have followed the channel for quite some time, you know that I am infatuated with swim bait fishing. I love big glide baits. You know, being a guide for a decade in Western North Carolina on trout fisheries, we had big gizzard shad, we had very mature blueback herring, we had big forage that big bass like to eat. So naturally, my infatuation led to me spending thousands and thousands of dollars on big swim baits. And today I am going to talk about the ones that I own and why I own them, and kind of maybe not rank them, but talk about which ones I think are the best. It might actually surprise you too, because if you've been following the channel for some time, you might have some kind of preconceived notion as to what I will choose. But we are at a campground right now with a couple of ponds, and we've got Isaac the Iceman right there. Isaac, tell the people, what's up?
Do you have some rods that I can use?
I don't know. I think I only have big swim baits. We can try to use them, but I was gonna run these and see how all these boogers swim compared to each other. Is that okay? Yeah, totally. All right, so we are going to throw these baits, probably not in this lower pond because it's a little bit darker water, but there are lily pads and a bunch of fish. But there's a clear pond up the way right there. We're gonna make a few casts, and like I said, I'm gonna talk about 4 baits here. I've got the Shad Trick Shad in a 7-inch. I've got a Hinkle Shad. I have a Clutch Boss, and I have a Phony Frog Gizzard Shad. Those are the baits right there. And I'm gonna swim them all, but I'm gonna talk about things I like about them, things I don't like about them, their action, when I would use each bait, and yeah. So I'm actually gonna film Mama first to see if Mama can catch some fish.
Daddy,
Madre, ¿cómo estás?
hey Daddy, maybe we should do the Hinkle Shad.
Probably. Oh. There was one just, oh! All right, so the first bait that I'm gonna be throwing is the Shad Trick Shad. And this is a 7-inch glide bait. I'm a really big fan of this bait on herring lakes. I've caught a lot of fish over the years on this bait, wolf pack fish that are on docks. Yeah, so this bait is super versatile. It's super fluid. I can burn this bait at a high pace and it won't blow out. And I mean, I'll show you kind of over my shoulder right here, but I cast that bait out, and if you can see that, very stable, swimming. I'll hold my rod tip down. You can see that bait's very stable at a high speed. So it's almost like a serpentine bait where I can burn that bait and I don't have to worry about it blowing out. But what I love about this bait is it's so free to cut. So when I cast, I can take it and almost just kind of like walk it underwater. And you know, one thing when I think about glide bait fishing, I'm always trying to pull that bait away from the fish. It sounds counterintuitive, but you almost want to pull that bait away from the fish to create a reaction strike, because once that bass engages a glide bait, like, hey, I might want it, all of a sudden you got to think about how a bait fish swims in nature. They're like, oh gosh, I'm not going to let this big bass eat me. And they try to flee, they try to cut, they try to dart, and that's what creates that real fired up bite from a largemouth. So, you know, with me, I'm always glide, and I'm really fast. And for me, stability is really key. So this bait right here is awesome. I add lead weight to that front hook, usually because I'm trying to sink it down on a little bit deeper fish that I don't think a lot of people are fishing for with this style of bait. I also think it looks more natural. And the other thing is I love the tunability with a shad. So I can take this pin out of the back, I can loosen up those joints, I can tighten up those joints, I can add weight. There's a little center cavity, I can add weight. I prefer just doing it on the hooks because it's a little bit faster when I'm adding lead wire. But this bait right here, I mean, you can tell, man, super stable bait. And my rod and reel setup on this is a Tatula Swimbait rod. This is 7'3" heavy Swimbait rod. It's rated for up to 4 ounces. I think this bait weighs like 3 ounces. It's parabolic, it's a beast. I currently have it on a Daiwa Fuego just because I had an extra Fuego laying around, which it's a heavy duty reel. I mean, it's got like 14 or 15 pounds of drag, but That is the bull shad. If I had to give it a score of out of 10, 0 being worst bait I've ever thrown, worst glide bait I've ever thrown, 10 being best glide bait I've ever thrown, I would rank a bull shad, trick shad, I would say it's an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 on that one right there. All right, so the next bait is the Phony Shad. So this is by Phony. It, I guess, is same size profile as a Hinkle. And right off the bat, I'll tell you guys, I had a few of these baits and it was an absolute beast trying to tune them. I mean, like, it was a grind trying to tune them. They have this back fin. You got to take the back fin out. Mine that I had gotten, all three of them had been super glued in, so I had to take the back fin out, cut them, destroyed them, but I got the fin out, and then I wanted to really work with these baits to get them to the point they would cut really nice, because I only had one Hinkle at the time. So I have it super weighted, but this bait took a lot of tuning, but you can tell, like, it wants to blow out. It's super free to walk. I mean, I don't know if you guys can see that. I don't have a polarized lens on. It's super free to walk, which is a beautiful little action. But if I try to pump that bait too hard, it will actually blow out. But I think the key with this bait is sinking it down there and just kind of giving it twitch, 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 and not giving it too hard of twitches, because it will blow out. Let's see what happens when I burn it though. If I burn this bait, I mean, it's pretty good, but you can definitely tell when I really pick up the pace of it, it wants to blow out. But if I'm just kind of a steady reel right there, I mean, that's just kind of a steady reel, decent pace. It's not wanting to blow out. But if I try to really speed it up or give it some hard twitches, and the hard twitches are the twitches that really get those fish to eat. So, you know, for me, this bait was like, hey, I need something else big, gizzard shad profile. If I had to give this bait a score, 0 being worst, 10 being best, I'd probably give it a, I don't know, 6.5. I mean, I definitely think it's not as stable as some other baits in that deal. And here's the deal. I've used the Green Leaf Lures Imposter. I didn't like that bait. I thought it blew out super easy at really moderately high speeds, or even kind of a straight retrieve. And then another bait is the high-powered herring. I just am not a big fan of these baits that have a lot of tilt, because as you pick up that speed, they have the tendency to blow out. Now, the high-power herring didn't necessarily blow out, but it did have this like over-exaggerated tilt, almost like a Gancraft did. And I just wasn't a super big fan of that tilt. It gets bit, it catches fish, all these baits do, you know, but yeah, so anyways, that's the Phony. Not my favorite. I usually have it in the boat as just a backup, or maybe I left my glide baits at home. I literally just keep this in the boat as just like a, oh, if crap hits the fan, I don't have a glide bait, whether I broke it off, left them at home, whatever, I've got this one to throw. Not my favorite. All right, the next bait, is this one your favorite? Isaac loves this bait, and Isaac isn't the only person that loves this bait. I love this bait too. That is the Clutch Boss, and that bait right there is a special bait. I want to show you guys its action. You want to help me cast it out? Yeah. All right, come here. Ready? You got to hold right here, hold the rod, and we're gonna lob. Remember, thumb on the spool with Daddy's thumb, and then lob. Nice.
That was a far cast.
Yeah, it was a far cast. But I can take this bait, look at this right here, guys. I can take that bait and burn it, and that thing is so stable. Now, here's the deal. It's more of a slalom than it is like really serpentine. All right, reel it. Let's see, look at that action. Look, it's so easy. Isaac's reeling it in, it looks good. All right, can I show the people something cool that Daddy loves about this bait? So not only is it slalomy, and it comes through the water super easy, but it's also very choppy. If I want to take that bait, I'll try to get it right under the, I mean, look at that bait. I can chop that thing and it is not blowing out at all. I mean, I can take that thing and chop it right below the surface, and it is just so stable. It's super thin profile. My thought behind it is, if you look at a gizzard shad, they're relatively thin. They have a thinner profile. And there's some baits like the Imposter by Green Leaf Lures, the Hinkle Shad, even the Phony Shad, they're a wide presence. And there's nothing wrong with that. I like that, but that thin little profile comes through the water really easy. It makes it a very fluid, natural looking bait. And I'm telling you, the Clutch Boss absolutely gets bit. And once again, I can take that thing and just kind of like jerk, 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 pause, jerk, jerk, pause. It's almost just like a giant oversized jerk bait. And man, I've caught fish on herring lakes with this deal a ton. I've caught some really nice fish in ponds with this bait. And you know, with our trek across the US, fishing, you know, Arkansas, Texas, everywhere we're gonna be fishing, this bait right here is going to catch some absolute freakzilla giants. I got money on it. It's easily tunable. You can take the pin out of the back like the bull shad. You can unscrew those hinges for different actions. You can screw them tighter. This bait right here is a special bait. I think Josh Pallades with Clutch hit an absolute home run with this bait. And believe it or not, if I had to rank this one, as far as gizzard shad baits go, I would rate this maybe a 9 out of 10. You know, maybe you could argue the realism isn't really there. I added a mouth just to make it a little more realistic. It's not the most beautiful bait if you look at it. It's not just, it doesn't just scream aesthetically beautiful, but I don't think it needs to. It's a special bait, has a weight chamber down the belly in case you want to add more weight. When I'm tuning these and needing to weight these, I'm usually just adding more lead wire around the hook. But that bait right there is just an absolute beast. I mean, that is probably my favorite big gizzard shad glide bait, along with the next one, and then I'm gonna choose one between the two that is the best. So I recently gave away a Hinkle Shad. This is my last and only Hinkle Shad, and it is a beast. And that bait right there, very heavy, very wide profile, but it's a very stable bait, much like the Boss, much like the Bull Shad, which I think is most important. When I burn that bait, you can tell, man, that thing just very, very stable and true. But the thing I love about this bait is I can hard walk it and it is just going to cut back and forth, and it doesn't want to blow out. It stays very parallel with the surface. It stays very, very true. Which I think is a big key to looking natural. I don't see those bait fish ever really roll on their sides and everything. They stay very, very parallel with the surface. They stay horizontal, and that's a big deal. The bait's not tunable. I will say that. And here's the deal. If you've ever gotten some Hinkle Shad blanks, you've probably got some that are inconsistent. Some run really true when you get them, and some you're like, God, that didn't run like the last one. And then you'll get another one, that one doesn't run like either of them. Then you get another one, and you're like, that one doesn't run like either of the other three. They're not very consistent from one over the other, but when you get a good one, you'll know you'll have a good one because it stays very stable. And that's a big key, man, is that bait's stable. I can cut it, same deal. I can just kind of slow glide it. You know, I'm weighting all of these because I'm fishing them a little bit deeper than most, but that bait right there has caught some absolute donks on herring lakes, gizzard shad lakes. I've caught some huge fish with my buddy Ben Milliken on that bait. Like I said, it has big hard cuts, moves a lot of water, and I can take that and slow chop it too. It definitely takes more to work this bait than it does that Boss, but this is a great bait. I would also rank this bait maybe a 9 out of 10. This one has the aesthetics, the realism over the Boss, where the Boss doesn't have that, but the Boss has the fluidity of action and just the ease of action that I actually love over the Hinkle. The Boss is also I literally think a couple ounces lighter, which when I'm fighting these giant bass, dude, you don't want to give them leverage. You don't want to give them the opportunity to throw that bait. But, and for that, I'm throwing ST, I guess, Molly's got one. Nice, Molly's got a little bass across the pond. This thing has 30x zoom. Hold it up, hold it up, hold on. Hold on, I'm gonna zoom all the way in. Let's go, Molly's got a little bass. Good job, babe. All right, so with all of these, I'm throwing the ST41s, the BCs, they're the cut and point hooks. They are bad to the bone. They almost like bend back in, but I don't lose many fish. And that's what I'm saying with that, whether it's the Hinkle Shad or whether it's the Boss, that hook right there keeps them pinned and my hookup ratio is better. But my thought is if the Boss and the Hinkle Shad had a baby, and you had the fluidity and action of the Boss and the aesthetics and just realism look of the Hinkle, you would probably have the best shad bait ever. But the three that I really utilize, you know, and there's a bunch of glide baits I utilize, period, across the board, man. I'll be honest, I love the 6th Sense draw as far as herring lakes are concerned. I love a Gancraft 230 Magnum. I love the 178 Gancraft. I really love the darter, you know, the clutch darter I ranked as the best herring glide, period. And, you know, right up there with it, the 6th Sense draw is that slender herring profile. It gets absolutely bit. You know, it kind of has that thinner herring slash shiner profile. But, you know, I utilize a lot of glide baits, and I'm sure there's some I'm missing off the top of my head. But, you know, those are the baits that I'm utilizing day in, day out when I'm targeting giant bass on reservoirs across the country. Anyways, I really appreciate you guys for watching the video today. I hope you learned something. I honestly don't think I can make money off of any of these baits. That's just the reality of it. I don't make money off of any of these baits. I was just sharing my true heart around baits that I throw, baits that I have tied on my rods at any given point in time. And yeah, these baits are great. I mean, whether you're targeting fish that are eating gizzard shad, whether you're targeting fish that are eating crappie, big brim, tilapia, man, really hard to beat a big glide bait. What are you doing? That ain't chocolate, brother, that's dirt. Are you eating dirt? Okay, well, anyways, that's a wrap from this video. Appreciate y'all a ton for watching. If you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel. Got some awesome fishing content coming out as always, but till next time, guys, see y'all later.